Today I want to share with you a great chipping, I call it a cheat, a great chipping tip. Now I play with lots of golfers, or I take golfers on the course to watch them play, and I always see the same errors when they chip the ball around the green. Let's make sure you're not making the same mistakes. So the first thing we're going to start with is really how they stand to the golf ball. What I tend to see with a lot of golfers, when they stand to do a chip and run, they'll stand like they would do a normal golf shot. So the distance from the ball is quite great. How the club sits on the ground is what I would class as normal, meaning the club will be sold pretty much like this. And when we chip the ball, we don't want the club to be sold like this. And certainly for the drill I'm going to give you to do, I'm going to make it quite extreme. But if we imagine if I was going to go and hit this chip shot here, I want to stand the distance away from the golf ball I would do if I was going to hit a putt. So that's how I'd stand for a putt. Let's move that out of the way. This is how I want to stand for a chip. So even if I just put a couple of little marks in the ground there so I know that's where I'm going to stand, I can use that as a reference point when I get back into the ball in a second. Now the key thing and the most important thing is when we set up for a chip, I want this heel to be off the ground. I want the toe to be sitting down into the ground. And when you hit the golf ball, I want the toe to hit the ground first. The reason I want this will help arch our wrists, move the handle more into the palm of the hand, just like that. And when we do that, what that does, it helps eliminate any unwanted wrist action. Now, when I see poor chippers, when they stand further away from the golf ball, this swing does two things. One, it works on a bigger arc, because I'm stood more aside the golf ball. Then I have to release it more this way to square it up. But also what I see with a lot of these guys who hit these poor chips is the heel of the club will hit the ground first. And they end up fudging it a few yards. We don't want to see that. What I want to see you do is get the toe of that club pressed into the ground and the feeling of the toe of that club hitting the ground first. That's the premise of what we want to do as a conceptual thing when we hit chip shots. That's going to ensure we get the ball off and running pretty quick. Now you might say, if we stand the club up, will that make the face aim not at target? Well, to a small degree, yes. So if I put my finger here in the middle of the sole of the club and point it directly at the camera, I lower the handle, you'll see here that my finger points left of the camera pretty quickly. When I do it the opposite way, raise the handle, it makes a minimal effect. So in theory, it might open the face, but we have to move the handle an awful long way to make that change. So what we're looking to do is stand very close to the ball, raise the handle, get the club running up your forearm, grip it down the bottom of the shaft unless you're extremely tall to allow you to do this with a bit of comfort to your posture. The ball position wants to be in the center of the stance and the weight and pressure wants to be 70% on the lead foot. The stance width is only really about a club head and a half apart. Now your sternum, so where my microphone is here, wants to be kind of at the front of the ball, and my eyes want to be at the front of the ball. And then we'd want to feel that when we go and hit this chip, we're going to get the toe of the club to hit the ground first, and then let the ball go off and run down towards the hole. As you see there, that ball ran an awful long way. Now this is slightly downhill, so that's going to make things easier. And I use the 7-iron for that shot. So let's go through where we land the ball and how we select the club. The kind of icing on the cake in this one, we've got the technique right. But certainly what I want you to practice a lot with this technique-wise is trying to get that toe of the club to brush the ground first. And if you wanted to, you could even get some kind of chalk on the ground there and try and feel like you only see the chalk mark the toe end of the club to be able to achieve that. Now, in terms of club and ratios, we want to land the ball just on the green as long as it's flat. Okay, so we want to get the ball to elevate over this apron, as we would call it, particularly if the grass wasn't particularly good. This apron's good enough I could putt on for sure, but we definitely want to feel it's elevated over that and then releases to the hole. Now, where we land that ball, if that landing area is, say, for example, in this case, about a quarter way between us and the hole, that becomes a 7-iron shot. If that area was halfway, that would be a 9-iron or a wedge for me. And if it was 3/4 away, it'd become a sand iron or even a lob wedge. Now, if it's downhill like this, we could go landing quarter of the way, becomes an 8-iron, and vice versa. If it's uphill, we could go a 6-iron. So we can use any single club to do this. The key things are we want the toe of the club to hit the ball and the ground first. So just find your address there. When we take our address to the ball, we want the handle forward, so opposite the inside of my left thigh. That wants to be there every single time. Then, so practice swings, almost bring the club in, toe of the club hit the ground first. Then I'm just going to gently do that. Get the ball just elevated onto the green and then let it release down towards the hole. So there you have it, real simple way to play chip shots around the green to lower your scores and improve your golf.